Okay, the first test is in the books, and I think there is a lot to talk about, both in terms of this game and how it might affect the series going forward. Hello, amateurs. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be here with you throughout this whole Lion series and beyond. So hit subscribe to follow along. And I've got Elko with me today to go through this game in fine detail. Elko, how you doing?
Very good. 1-0 up. Here we go.
Indeed, 1-0 up. Now, first question for you was, at what point did you stop being nervous?
When Dan Sheehan scored straight after halftime, and then the wheels came off. But yeah, that's when I stopped being nervous.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we're talking about nerves. I thought pre-game, just looking at the faces of many of the players, like a lot of them, you could see the nerves in all their faces. You could see how much this meant. You could see what an incredible, momentous moment this was going to be, and I loved that.
Oh yeah, it was. I, I was excited going to bed last night, and then yeah, just the build up. I thought Sky Sports did a real good job. I love the guy from Gladiator mixed in with Geach. It's just a really good contrast. It's so weird. But yeah, even just the kind of the shirt presentations and stuff like that seemed to go down real well. Again, Andy Farrell's just so good at that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was. I mean, even this morning, first thing I was looking at sort of some of the feeds coming through on socials, and I'm sure you saw there was where the guys were. It was just inside somewhere. It was just all red. It was just lions, lions. It was like everyone's arrived. It's about to go sort of thing. And yeah, it was good atmosphere before the game, and you could feel it through the TV and stuff. And I don't know whether the guys were speaking it up a little bit, but they were certainly tuned in. And I think the realization of the tests were here was evident to see.
Absolutely. And of course, big test matches need big test match players. I think it's fair to say that Andy Farrell's somewhat controversial selections in some quarters were absolutely vindicated in this match, because I thought all of them, Tom Curry, Ty Byrne, and Ty Furlong, were all outstanding today.
BGPs, as Rog was saying. Yeah, I mean, thoroughly justified. All of them to a man. I mean, the back row, but Curry, which was the most contentious one, was probably lucky to maybe be on the park for the full time. He was there in terms of potential maybe yellows if it was in Northern Hemisphere. But I thought he was absolutely immense from the very beginning. I've just watched a bit of the first sort of 10 minutes of each half just now, and he did a double hit with Dan Sheehan to set the tone very early. He was absolutely quality.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that we all talk about with him, well, two things. It's work rate and physicality are the two things that he brings. And he brought it into constantly throughout this game. And there was one moment in the second half, which I particularly loved. I think it was Champion De Crespin. He was just setting up a ruck inside his own 22, like a static ruck so they could box kick. And Curry ran in from like miles away to just go, no, we're not having that. We're not having you just having an easy setup here. And he whacked him as hard as he could. And it was just that kind of level of intensity and physicality, which I think is the difference in his game.
Yeah, massively, and the knowledge clearly that Farrell has, that he brings it. He's not he doesn't have to worry about it. He brings it every time. His work rate, the physicality. Hopefully, obviously, you would have seen he came off and he was looking at his wrists and he did a bit of protection on there, and looks like an old injury to me, but probably a little bit worried. And got him off there, but he was acceptable. Even with that, and I'm sure we'll go there. But like his hands for Sheehan's try was just beautiful. You know, he has those little touches as well. I know some of the talk was he'd fumble a bit in some of the warm up games, but sometimes these guys need to be playing in big games to reach 100%, and get the most out of you, and have an opposition that's testing you and brings up the levels of engagement, which probably I think is why we kind of fell off a little bit, and yeah, interesting.
Yeah, let's talk about that now, because clearly the Lions were so dominant throughout the first half, and getting that score right at the start of the second half pretty much killed the game, really, in most people's eyes, I would imagine. And you have that huge build-up of nervous energy, of tension, of willingness to perform. And if you get it to that point so relatively quickly in a game, it's very difficult to then maintain that throughout the full 80. Just talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's difficult though. Just again, that's why I watched the first bit of the second half again just a few minutes ago. Um, in fairness to the Aussies, I thought intensity wise they were at the ruck area were really competitive, particularly first half. Actually, no, all the way through the game, and they just had a bit more ball in the second half. But it was ferocious. It really was ferocious. And so it was tough going. But I think when you get scores, and nothing came easy. I know some of the stuff may look easy, but it's not. We earned our stuff. But it's just tough, and I just wonder. I was trying to see if Joe McCarthy was injured or not because we scored and then they kicked off, and then just after that they took him off, and that's I feel that's when our intensity suddenly dropped. And I was thinking, is that like a is that the other guys going on nice one? We're taking off some players to save them for next week's test or something. I don't know. It just seemed like psychologically that it just came down, and Chesney came on. Now whether he is injured, I don't know how bad it is. I watched him and he's hobbling. I think it's his right ankle. He's definitely something wrong. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it's nothing too bad. Then I have to call Ryan Bard up and fly him out. Uh, just to really wind up people. But yeah, it's really strange, CT, because we definitely came off the boil, and I'm sure that Farrell had a plan with that bench would have been to bring them on probably all together, and we didn't do that. We drip fed them in, and they had no impact really. They were chasing the game. Keller's throwing was really poor. Our line out went kaboom a little bit. Set piece went a little bit. Porter got them. So I don't know. It seems really weird. Now, on a plus side, I think it gives Farrell so much ammo because what could have happened was we could have gone off and scored a load of tries and won by 40 because there was definitely 3 or 4 tries left there. But this is brilliant because he can now say to the midweek team on Tuesday, go out and play. There is an opportunity here. He can also probably have a load of clips and show guys where, hang on, this isn't acceptable. There's no way this is acceptable, particularly because we started to use conduct. So I think in terms of the lines, it's kind of good for Farrell because he can. It wasn't good to watch. It was really really messy and incredibly frustrating to watch and annoying. But we got the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And just from the Australian side of that, then as well, it has to be said that whilst the Lions did go off the ball a little bit and did start giving penalties away, fair play to those Australians that came off the bench. They came on, they brought more intensity, and particularly people like Angus Bell with his carrying, they just upped it. And, all those things combined made for a really sort of. I found it quite nervous in the second half at times, especially after Tizano got over to make it back within 2 scores with, I think, about 12 minutes to go. If the Aussies had scored again then, pretty quickly, then suddenly it can feel like a very, very nervous place because the Lions had really, like, they dominated the first 50 minutes by a considerable degree and wasn't reflected on the scoreboard.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought the nine that came on as well. I thought for Australia really made a difference, and yeah they started to play. I mean, it's funny because it's almost like it's almost like the Joe Schmidt way of playing is quite readable for us, and we can match them physically, and it's very. Uh, in the second half they started to play and it was a bit more jouet and we struggled with that. We were tired. I thought Furlong looked tired. I think we needed to bring him off earlier because they were he was starting to go into scrums. Itoji looked tired. Unsurprisingly, I just thought they started to play a bit more and almost I think come away from a scripted way of playing, which is going to be interesting in camp because I could see it going. I could see it going maybe, that famous England World Cup where the players kind of went, out, screw this, let's play an Australian way. And that was with England, of course, in whatever year that was. But yeah, I just thought that they started to come off script and play a lot better. And again, it's annoying because for us, not for them, I would say they feel they probably have momentum now for the second test. They were the better team, without a doubt. And they started to play. It gives them major hope, and it means that they're bringing in probably Skelton and their other big ball carrier. you know, that will give them massive sort of confidence to go, look, if we bring these guys in when we have more ball, which they didn't have in the first half, they can cause us massive problems. Um, so yeah, it's going to be an interesting week for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think when they went off script a little bit and played a little bit wider and just saw what was in front of them, they had joy with that. They had a little bit of joy with that at the start of the game as well, though, when they moved the ball around. But where they really had joy, I thought, was the pick and go game. When they could get field position, when they could get within 10 metres. I thought their pick and go game was really well organised and they won penalties from it, which is what allowed them to stay down there and then chance their arm at something a little bit more extravagant.
Yeah, it was a possession game, wasn't it? It was like if you had the ball, particularly the way O'Keefe referees, you're although there was a lot more turnovers than we thought. And we actually said that jokingly, didn't we, that we'd get jackal penalties, and we did. The first penalty was Burn jackal penalty, um, and they kicked long a lot. Weirdly, the Aussies. But yeah, I felt it was a possession game when they had the ball and they had to pick and go near our line. We had to really defend well and stuff. It was I think it was quite wet as well. The pitch looked a bit boggy, particularly on the left side as we watched, when they were attacking us in the first half. So massive possession game. That's what I mean. If they have a few more big boys in there to keep the ball, then they can definitely cause us problems. But it was good to see them sort of attack us. What did you make of what they were saying about? Because I thought Liner was okay. I mean, it's tough. It's tough going, isn't it, to come in? But around like it looked like he didn't have any options. That's not on him, right?
No, mate, you've read my mind. That was exactly the next bit that I was going to go to because I thought both Rog and Dan Bigger were particularly harsh on him. Look, it's his first start in a test match, and his forwards are getting knocked back, knocked back, knocked back. He had so little front foot ball, and players outside of him were so flat. I mean, maybe there's some give and take here. There's some chicken and the egg. Like, does he need to do more to get them going forward a little bit? But I don't think so. Not really. Not in today's game. I thought his front five basically got battered in the first half, and it made it very, very difficult for him. I would say there was a couple of opportunities, a couple of kicking opportunities. One in particular to sort of deep as he was looking deep left could have easily been a 50-22 and he just didn't connect with it right. He saw the opportunity but he just didn't nail the kick. And I think there's little bits like that where you go, if you nail that, then that's a massive momentum change for the he didn't he never really had a moment like that where he sort of really made a difference, but it was really hard going for him today just in terms of how the game was.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone around him was getting battered, weren't they? And then, but he didn't. You know, he didn't. I don't feel he hid away or bottled it. I think he stood up and he tried. But it's difficult behind a pack that's struggling a little bit. There was some good ball carrying out. It made me laugh, and again, going back to my point about sort of how bought in this Aussie team is into Joe Schmidt's way of their number eight. I thought was played particularly well, but I wouldn't. I don't think Joe would be that happy with him doing all these kicks through. I mean, they're good kicks and things, but I wouldn't say that's. I'd say he'll be getting pulled in, but do you know what I mean? Like they're playing instinct, and that's not always the way Smith coaches teams. I'd love to be a fly in the wall in there and see. And do the players want Liner there, or do they want someone like O'Connor to come in? Whether Joe wants him or not, I don't know, because he can maybe not want to play a prescriptive game plan. Right, he'll probably want to play the way he wants to play. So we might get our Farrell O'Connor.
I'd say earlier in his career, I would agree, but I think now he's really matured and he's spent time like going to the Crusaders has really sort of
Yes.
changed his mindset by all accounts about how to control a game and things like that. So maybe historically that might have been the case, but I think less so nowadays. And I think he would
Mm.
very much do what's right for the team rather than being a bit of a maverick, which he certainly was as a young player.
Yeah, but he's had a couple of weeks in Brisbane and stuff, so he might. Joking,
Don't know,
joking.
don't know what you're saying. Right, let's talk about some of these other big moments as well. What did you make of the Hugh Jones disallowed try?
I thought when I saw it wasn't a try. I thought he was tackled straight away in real time, and then just watching it even more, I thought, nah, he's it's a, it, that, that's a player. over the arousal curve, want to score, and he's just not thought to release the ball or to, which is a problem with him. I think he's a bit of a crowbar. He probably could have popped it up to somebody and scored, but I thought at the time it wasn't. What were your thoughts?
Well, I thought at the time it wasn't, but then actually on I still think it wasn't. I still think it was the correct decision, but I think it was really close, because it was Jorgensen, I think, who made the tackle, and he did let go of his feet pretty quickly. And the frame actually, where I think it's Jones's knee hits the ground to say he's been tackled, and his feet get released, you kind of can't see it. I think it's probably correct, and I think it was the right decision by the referee. But I think it was actually really, really close. And actually, I don't blame Jones. I think he would have felt like he probably wasn't held, and then it gets all very squirrely. So I think it was a tough one, but I think the right decision was made. But I also don't really blame Jones too much.
Yeah, maybe I'm been over harsh because it is obviously it's all slowed down right in a split second, and they seem to be paying more attention to Lina coming in and diving on him and seeing if there was foul play there, which there was never. He was just reacting to slide in, and didn't make any contact. But yeah, I thought it was probably right, wasn't it? And if they're not getting that one right with TMO and stuff, then we've got no chance.
Yeah, I think it was good. I think it was a good choice. But what about some of the other Lions missed opportunities in the first half? What about the one where James Lowe came around to the open side and had like a 3-on-2 and ended up
Yeah,
did he get held up or just caught
no,
short?
he
I'm
not.
not sure.
Yeah, he got. I think so. So he'd worked his way back. He'd actually. I think he'd set that up with a big handoff. I think, and then they'd come back around. Um, I, I think he was probably trying to make up for some of the poor finishing over the last couple of weeks that he's got a bit of stick for, and you could see him really go and he tried to. I think there was maybe two or at least two, maybe three tacklers that he went and he just as he put the ball down, he got knocked on. But yeah, you've got Freeman and I think Keenan outside him, and that was the try. He should have shifted that, and they would have scored. So yeah, he'll. I thought he had a good game, mind. I thought he played really well. Low, thought he was very good, but that will be clipped, and he'll be getting in trouble for that one.
Yeah, correctly so. And they should have scored. He should have moved the ball. But I think the Australians actually did a really good job of just putting themselves in positions to make him double think it. So it should have been a try. He should have passed. But I thought they did a good job of putting doubt in his mind and ultimately got the result from that. Now, in terms of Lowe overall, I agree. I thought he had a pretty solid game and an area where the Lions haven't been great on tour so far. I thought they were pretty good today, and that was contestable kicks in the air. I thought Lowe did really well at that. I thought Keenan, for the most part, did really well at that. Freeman, not his best game in that area actually, because I normally rate him so highly in that regard, and he had a good chance early on up and above Tom Liner. And that's the type of ball that he normally catches sort of time every single time. So I was a bit disappointed for him in that respect.
Yeah, I don't know whether he a few people sort of text to say that they thought he had a poor game. I don't know. I thought he was okay. I thought he was okay. What I found interesting was that every time Harry Potter got the ball on a one-on-one, he didn't want to take him on. He kicked it straight away, which makes me think that he knows because they know each other from Leicester and stuff that yeah in the Premiership that he's got probably pace on him. So yeah, and I thought we in attack I thought contestable kicks, and we thought we'd see quite a lot of kicks. And unfortunately for Hugo, there the Aussie tried in the that came from that contestable. He was really unlucky because he kind of did a great job to get up, and then it got ripped off him, which is disappointing. But and then I was thinking, oh God, confidence wise, that can be a bit of a killer. But straight after that, he had to go up and contest again, and he was straight on it again. He's a very good footballer, and I'd have no qualms about him sort of moving on from that bad moment. But yeah, I thought our back three were pretty good, and glad to see them come off healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. With that Keenan thing for the try with Jorgensen, I agree. I think he was really unlucky. He timed everything perfectly. He got up above Jorgensen marginally, only just, and he was sort of in control of the ball. But Jorgensen did a great job of getting an arm underneath. And then as they went to ground, Keenan tried to go to ground. Jorgensen just stayed up, and the ball came up with him. And that was good night nurse. After that, he was off and away.
Yeah, it was like the force of Keenan's weight and gravity coming down almost worked against them because your man had got such a good lock on the ball, and you could see him, Hugo, kind of going what, and then your man did really well to finish off and beating who's it, Finn into the corner.
Yeah, and it was one of those kind of freak tries as well because James Lowe, I'm sure, recognised that Keenan was up and above and was likely to win the ball, so he was down low, ready to clear that ruck, and then suddenly Jorgensen had it and was away, so that was why he was kind of out of that play as well, and it all looked a little bit weird, kind of thing.
Yeah, Low probably. I think if you're being hypercritical, you probably look at that and maybe think he probably could have chased as Hugo was going to probably come back behind him a little bit more. But I think he was just kind of giving him and making sure he wasn't in the way. And you're right, confident that he's going to win the ball, um, because he wasn't in a position then to react to. It was done. Your man was in, sort of thing. But that's been hypercritical. I mean, it's a tough one.
Yeah, it was a really tough one. Okay, let's talk about scrums like we love to do.
Oh
I
yes.
thought I backed the Lions to have the upper hand in the scrums today, but what I would say is I think it was a really good contest throughout. And I would say that if anybody, the Wallabies just held a slight edge. They certainly got the benefit of the referee's decisions. And having looked at those quite closely, I think he was correct on both the penalties that he gave against the Lions loose heads.
Yeah, to be fair to O'Keefe, there's a few things in open play I wasn't particularly happy with. But anyway, in terms of the scrum, I thought he made it a non kind of issue, which we probably like to see a bit more, but it didn't really cause any problems in terms of viewers looking at it and particularly non-rugby fans looking at it and wondering what the hell was going on. It was fairly obvious sort of thing, and he didn't reward teams for collapsing. He just made the nines play, which is fair enough. Yeah, I thought Genge on that first one. I, he said elbow down first, right? Yeah, and then it was Porter in the second half. See, I as a hooker and not being knowing what I'm looking at because I'm always on the inside. I thought the opposite, but you're a brilliant Lucy, so I'll take it that you thought what you thought was correct.
I mean, look, it's very marginal, I would say, particularly the first one against Genge. But I think if he's going to give a penalty there, it probably had to be that way round. I don't like them saying your elbow went down first because unless the tight head's done some kind of dislocating his own shoulder, the loose head's elbow is always going to be the one that goes down first. So I don't really like them using that kind of chart. I don't think it makes sense. But I do think that Genge probably just hinged a little bit. And it's, like I say, very marginal, but sometimes they've got to give penalties at scrums, I think.
And what are your thoughts on the way he refereed it in terms of, and again, I think viewing it probably makes it a better spectacle. But as a front row, I get very frustrated. He didn't make. Surely he could have reset that, but he was a straight away a full arm pen. It's like, well, okay, Jesus. So we just move on, and no, it makes it less messy, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact scenarios with those ones. Maybe he'd reset one already. I can't remember. If that was just set penalty against Genge, then I feel like that was a bit harsh because they struggled to get a scrum in the first couple. He free kicked both the loose heads in the first two scrums, one each, I think. So I
Too
think he
much
was
weight,
trying to
wasn't
get a
it?
contact. Yeah, so I was happy with how it was refereed overall. I think it's a
Yeah,
tough thing to do. So,
yeah,
it's
I agree.
difficult. But okay, what about another refereeing decision? Because we love these things. The Suali'i non-try as well. What did you make of that? There's a lot going on for this one.
Which one was that?
So
Remind me.
he got the ball back inside. It was a scrum 5 meters out. He got a switch back inside. Ben Earl flew in at about knee height. He sort of toppled
Oh
over
yeah,
him and then got dragged over the line.
oh yeah. This is the one where so he kind of was on his back and got dragged back, and it ended up being a holding on penalty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, when I saw it, it just didn't look right. Um, I was surprised that we got a holding on penalty, though. To be honest, I thought it might have been. It was so quick and everything else, and we dragged him over. I thought it would have been maybe held up and a goal line kick out or something like that. I think we were lucky to get it. Yeah, I didn't think it didn't look right straight away. I thought Earl was fairly lucky to get away. I know they said there was a double wrap, but that's how Cowan Dickey tackles as well. And you're never wrap. If you're that low, you're never. you're not, you're never going to get wrapped there. Technically, I thought O'Keefe let a lot of yellows go by the by, because that's how they referee down in the Southern Hemisphere. If that's Prem or Six Nations, there's probably three yellow cards in that game, in my opinion. But yeah, I didn't think it was a try. Did you think it was? Or
No, definitely not.
no?
There was all kinds of wrong things about it. But the interesting thing about that, in terms of what the referee and the TMO, I think, said it as well, was they were talking about two arms wrapping. I've never heard that before from a referee. Surely it's only the arm attached to the shoulder that you're actually making the hit with. I've never heard them say that before, so I don't know whether this is like a new directive in that regard. But Earl definitely had his right arm up and he hit with his right shoulder. So I personally think they nailed this one because Conan got in on that ball really quickly, tried to lift it, and in doing so, dragged him over. So it
Yeah,
was, again, very tight margins through a lot of this stuff. But I agreed with that decision.
yeah, yeah. And you're right. It was they did say double wrap, didn't they? Sort of thing. I guess that's because what he could see, and then on the because O'Keefe was outside of him, wasn't he? And then on the replay, you could see, because he cut back in where the actual contact was made. He is doing that. Lucky not to get concussed. Really, same thing as happened to Cowan Dickey. But yeah, agree with the ref there. Another good job.
Yeah, absolutely. It did get a little bit nervous towards the end after Tizano scored, but the Lions then, for the first time in the second half, managed to get some possession and some territory. But I felt they just forced it a little bit. Like they hadn't had ball and territory for basically the entire second half. And as soon as they did, they looked dangerous again. But it felt like they had to score when for me, they didn't. They had to spend time in the Australian half with or without the ball. To be honest, it's not that relevant. But they just needed to spend time down there, and I thought they forced it a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose the prime example of that would have been the winger Freeman, when he sort of, there was a good bit of attack, a couple of phase play, good options, and then he sort of went to pass out the back, and he was a bit unlucky that the ball got caught where it did, and he couldn't bring it back. But you don't want him doing that there, right, TT? You want him, especially as a forward, and you're sort of fighting to get possession, and it's just too cheap to lose. Yeah, it was weird, like the way it was almost like it was almost like they were playing one of those warm up games again. And they were just trying to score off, sort of be Superman. The key to this is just phase, keep the ball, phase, and they will. They're just so powerful. They have got the finishers to score. So yeah, it's frustrating, wasn't it? Just it was annoying that those things, because you're right, we didn't have the ball, and that was crucial.
Yeah, McDermott got over for a try right towards the end to make the scoreline look really, really respectable, to be honest, because for most of the game, certainly the important part, when the Lions took it away from Australia in the first half, it didn't look like the score was going to be anything like that towards the end. And we kind of spoke about this earlier on already. What kind of momentum is that going to give Australia? What kind of confidence is that going to give them going into the rest of this Test series? Because let's not forget, this is one game, just one game out of three, and the momentum can shift massively. It did in 2001 when the Lions were dominant for a game and a half and ended up losing the series. They were only dominant in this game for a half. So I'm very interested to see the energy shift, the momentum shift going into next week now.
Massively. It's, if you're Australia, you're thinking, uh, they're a much better team in the second half. They looked fresher, they looked fitter, and I think Joe has been saying this to them the whole way along around. It's the end of a very long season for the British Lions, British and Irish Lions. It's there's some, and it looked like there was some tired bodies, and that's only test one. So which is why I think we're going to see some big changes for next week, because I think he's going to need to freshen it up a little bit. So yeah, I would be. That brings massive confidence, and also the way they played at times in the second half with the ball, which caused us problems. So yeah, I would. It it's really weird because we won, right, and it's all about the result, but it doesn't. It felt really weird at the end. It felt that they probably were the happier team at the final whistle, even though they've lost. And I think we said this in our build up pod that I feel that they were this was the kind of we'll give it a go, but second test and third test. The fact in his conference the way he spoke about not picking Skelton, he said, "Oh well, if it was a final, we'd pick him." And I'm like, "What? It is a final, isn't it?" So, but they're obviously going, "No, next week in front of 100,000, that's the one we have to win, and then we take it to the wire in test three against a really tired a group of players."
Yeah, and an Australia team that will then have been playing their fourth game together this season, whereas the Lions have played a whole load of games, so they'll have a lot more cohesion and togetherness and all the things that are really important to rugby. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I think there's a lot to be played for in the rest of this series.
that's right. I was listening to another podcast, and they had Jeremy Paul on there talking about when he played the Lions, and was that 2001?
That was 0-1, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's like a mirror image. He was saying that they were completely undercooked going into that game. The Aussies completely undercooked. They hadn't played much like this team. They've only played Fiji. That's it. So you're right. They have a game under their belt now. If they pick Line again, he's got a game under their belt now. They're going to be a better. Things are going to get tighter and tighter as we go forward, which is going to suit a pack with Skelton in there. Um, it's fascinating. So yeah, listen, we got the win, and of course you got to celebrate that. And we are the pressure's on them. Um, but beware of Aussie teams that have pressure on them, right?
Absolutely. Okay, let's bring this one to a close there, mate. There's so much to get into in this. It's great fun as always. But what do you think at home? Let us know in the comments down below. Anything we missed that you think was really important in this game? Any players, any moments, any refereeing decisions? Let's get into that as well. All very respectfully, of course. And we'll join you there for a friendly conversation. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there if you don't mind. It helps other great rugby fans just like you find it. And Elko, thank you so much again today.
Thanks a million for having me on. And yeah, 1-0 up. Let's go.
Absolutely. And people at home, you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And don't forget to get out and play.